Okay, hi, I'm going to read you guys a story. I bought this for my daughter before she was born, and it's one of my favorite books ever, and I've never seen it again, but it's awesome, so I'm going to read it to you, because I think a lot of people on my timeline could benefit from the message. Okay, it's called War and Peace. There is usually no need to quarrel and fight, so why do we sometimes? Perhaps we want something we can't have, or we disagree about something, or we don't trust someone, or we just got out of bed on the wrong side. It may be somebody else's fault. They started it. We'll probably think so, or say so anyway. There are families who almost never disagree. If they do, they'll discuss it calmly. They'll listen to each other's point of view, and they'll try and understand. In the end, they reach a decision which pleases everyone. They don't fall out, and if they do, they quickly make up, because they respect and love each other. But even families who argue all the time usually stand together when the family is threatened. There's their crazy neighbors. It is the same with groups of people. People who work together or play together or share common interests or opinions will unite against rival groups. But when a bigger picture comes along, or a bigger cause comes along, they'll unite with their rivals against the common foe. It is the same story with political parties and with nations. People rally to support their leaders. Just as each of us thinks that he or she is right, families, groups, politicians, and nations think that they are right. When nations quarrel, we stand united behind our flag, our uniform, our beliefs, history, traditions, and culture, and behind our fighting men and women. If we could see the other side, they feel and behave in the same way. They are just like us. If we only listen to the other side's point of view, we could often resolve problems and arguments without fighting. If we act in the heat of the moment, it is soon too late to avoid conflict. There's drones in the book. Injury piles upon injury, insults on insults, lie on lie, hatred of the foe and pride in ourselves fan the flames. We punish the murderers and kill the killers. Throughout history, nations have gone to war to acquire possessions, land, and slaves. Some became strong. They built great empires. Victory justified their actions. Entire races were wiped out, and this has gone on right down to the present day. Today, weapons are so devastating that war doesn't make sense. Nobody can win. Soldiers no longer see those they kill or maim at the push of a button. Wars destroy the progress of past generations, bringing their toil and aspirations to nothing. Isn't that crazy? There's drones. Nothing makes a nation sadder than defeat. But even after victory, we sometimes have to accept bitter truths. Looking back, it's easy to see who was right and who was wrong. We know our country made mistakes, especially when wars were fought far from home. Years later, we still feel sad, angry, bitter, and guilty. So why do we make the same mistakes? Why do we go to war so readily? Why do we supply arms to dangerous leaders? Why don't we ask questions at the right time? And yet, as long as there is a danger, each nation has to be prepared. Each of us may have to answer the call. That is the craziest part. We should have learned by now that all people have a right to live the way that they want, as long as they do not threaten the rights of others. It is easy to judge other people's problems, but when it is our nation's turn to listen, will we? It may take centuries for nations to learn to resolve disputes peacefully. There may need to be a world government with sufficient military strength at its command. Powerful nations may cede control of weapons. Weaker nations may agree not to arm. A peacekeeping force will keep enemies apart. I don't agree with the world government part, but I like the rest of the book. It is hard to imagine a world without war. There are 3 ways in which nations may cease to fight each other. One is united against a common foe, like an enemy from space. Another is less likely, a change in human nature, when people lose the taste for fighting. The third is unthinkable, when we have destroyed each other. Wars produce supreme examples of human sacrifice and heroism, but how many are prepared to be branded a coward for refusing to fight? Who, when fighting in a just cause, will pray for forgiveness instead of victory? Who will forgive the enemy? Who has the courage to question the leaders? It is easier to make war than peace. In a peaceful world, when all nations and people live together as friends, neighbors, and family, we can still be heroes and enjoy triumphant victories over hunger, poverty, and disease. But we can't wait for nations, groups, or families to see sense. It has to start with each one of us. There are more of us than we think. We can convince the others. Let's do something about it now. Let's live in peace. Let's share our world, because war is just plain silly. If we want to start with peace, it has to start with each one of us. War is silly. The end.